Hello everyone, I'm just an ordinary office worker who likes history. Previously, I talked about the world's three major bubbles. This time, I'd like to talk about white society as well. But the stage will change a little. The theme for this time is The Day a Superpower Was Born, or The Road to American Independence. So I'm going to talk about the United States. Nowadays, the United States of America is the most powerful country that reigns all over the world. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. It's not that old. I think it's only about 250 years old at most. How did this superpower, America, come into being? The roots are in England. I'm sure everyone knows that it's British. Then why did the British come to America? And why did they become a separate country called America? Of course, we learned about these things in school. I want to explain some of the things you don't know in school. First of all, I'd like to start with what happened before the British entered the North American continent in the Western world. Columbus discovered this new continent in 1492. It's not this continent. It's in the current West Indies, so it's a little bit far from the mainland. But it's on this side of the Atlantic Ocean. Columbus thought that it was in India. He didn't think he had discovered the New World. That kind of momentum was growing. The country that had great power in the 15th and 16th centuries were Spain and Portugal. These two countries were the first to go to the Americas. They went to South America, you know. It was called the Inca Empire and the Spanish invaded it. And now, I heard that they made a lot of money by invading it. They got the inheritance of the empire because there were silver mines on the South American continent. That's how the country of Spain made so much money. It was very profitable. So, in the Western world, they continue expanding into a new continent to make money. I think that's how it was. And during that period the economics was called heavy commercialism. What is heavy commercialism? It simply means a strong country that has a lot of money. That's it. So, for the country to become strong, the idea is to make a lot of money. I'm sure you're aware of that. This kind of economic thinking drives the Western world. I've seen Spain making a lot of money by expanding into South America. That's why the rest of the world is going there too. France, Holland, and England also expanded to the new continent. And so on. And Latin America. Spain has already taken over that area. So these latecomers moved into North America. They moved into what is now the United States and what is now Canada. And finally, England, the ruler of North America. When was the first colonial settlement in England? It was in 1585 when they tried to establish the Roanoke colony here first. But it failed because, at that time, there was a war between England and Spain. There was no additional supply after that. The people who were sent to this colony were all wiped out, and they all disappeared, right? That's why this Roanoke colony is now a lost colony. So, where was the first successful settlement? Well, it was in England. There was a colonial contractor company. It's called the Virginia Company. The Virginia Company led Jamestown. It was the first prosperous town. That was the center of Virginia and was established in 1607. The name, Virginia, comes from Elizabeth I because she never married her whole life. And also, Jamestown was named after James I, the king of that time. If you remember, a woman of color is a virgin. I'm sure you won't forget that. Jamestown was founded and didn't come easily either. It was quite a challenge. The reason is that the first people who came to this colony came from England. What did these people want? They wanted to make money. In other words, they tried to find gold and silver treasures. That's why they get directly involved in profit-making activities. They didn't farm at all. They were colonists. That's why the food ran out quickly. At that time, malaria and other pathogens were spreading. People were dying of hunger and disease. I think this is a little too much. I wonder about that. When you go to a new place, you start with farming, right? That's how you live. You have to start with agriculture and securing food. But they didn't do that. What happened during this period? If it was in the US, they would have given it a tragic name, starving time. It's a pretty famous case. I'm pretty sure that time was when all the deaths happened. I think it came before winter. There were about 500 of them, but when the winter was over and the spring came out, of those only 60 of them left. They were about to be wiped out and ended up like the Roanoke colony again. The people who created the English were the Powhatan Indians. Let me digress for a moment. What are Indians? I heard it's quite a thing nowadays. It's a racist term. I have an acquaintance who is Canadian. When I called him an Indian in front of him, he said something like, "No, that's not quite right." I heard that they call it Native American. But what is a Native American? Do you see it in textbooks? No, they were the first to live in the Americas. I don't know what to say. Japanese people still think of them as Indians, right? Well, I can imagine that Indian is a racist term. But it seems that the word Native American appears to be common nowadays. But the source is my Canadian friend. I can't guarantee it. But at any rate, I heard that there is such a story. So, let me go back to history again. There is a common philosophy among the Indians. That is to share everything with everyone. It was not only shared with Indians but also with white people. They gave water and food to the white people. Not only that, they taught them how to grow corn. They supported them to the point they became independent. That's why at first, I thought it was a peaceful story. But after this, they sold their souls to the devil. I'll talk about that in the next article. If you find this video interesting and informative, please like it and subscribe to my channel. See you soon.